illustrations, the color palettes of them are all the same, so that hopefully someone will look at that and go, oh, that was the Exploited series. You know, they know that they're all part of individual their individual stories, but they're all part of the same theme. So they're two of our biggest kind of investigations and the ones that have been most successful. Just very briefly, just mention a couple of things that, again, you might not think, well, that's something that you would be able to do if you were a regional journalist. But like Liz-Anne says, you know, we did cover the election, and we, you know, we've done probably hundreds of them in the past, but this time we did something completely different. Data was a big part of that, but we also had a broadcast. So our head of politics, David McDougall, every day, I think it was at 2 p.m. I think it was later as the election got closer, but he would do a show that was broadcasted on YouTube, Facebook, and our homepage. And it was a mix of looking at the stories of the day, anything, reacting to anything breaking. He had politicians on for interviews. There was loads of different elements, and I think we just wanted to highlight it because it was just such an amazing experience for everyone, whether you're involved in it or not. Just being able to know that the opportunity was there to be able to be a broadcaster and to reach our readers in a completely different way. I think the team who produced it was really high quality. They learned so many new skills through it. One of the guys that was working on it, who's one of the main people, actually, he was actually with us for work experience, and it was kind of his project, you know, part of it when he was with us, and he did an absolutely incredible job, and I think he got a lot out of it. So I think it's just an example of how different things are now, in a kind of after our digital transformation. And then finally, just a couple of other ones that are, again, just a little bit different and show how we've changed the way that we approach our journalism. I'll let Liz-Anne talk about the Cheers for Beers map, but just wanted to mention Spic and Scots because it is very different to the other investigations that we've done before. So this was also done by our investigations team, and the main theme of it was really to explore whether Scots language, so things like Doric and Glaswegian and Dundonian, they all come under the umbrella of Scots language. Whether that has a future, whether people still say Scots words, do they pass them on to their kids? How much do they remember, you know, their grandparents speaking it? Do they value it? There's campaign groups that are trying to fight for the funding, for more funding and for it to have more awareness. So, I mean, previously in years gone by, I probably would have done a story of campaigners are fighting for the future of Scots language and then would have quoted them and there'd been a couple of pictures and that would have been it. But what we did with this one was we kind of thought, well, this is about language, it's about people speaking, so you hear it and you read it. And so we did we took that a little bit further and did an audio map. 2 seconds, sorry. Sorry, my presenting bar is getting in the way of my tabs.
She's probably accidentally left rather than resharing her screen. I'm sure she'll be back momentarily. It's always a nightmare when you're sharing your screen and the little presenter bar is above the tab that you're trying to show. So I assume she's accidentally clicked out of it. I can probably get it open. Oh, there she is.
Sorry about that. I just accidentally closed my screen instead of.
I was just explaining that that's probably what happened.
Ah, so frustrating. Had to be the last one as well. I promised every other one has gone okay. So yes, so I'm about to talk about how great we are with technology and having just failed with technology. So just ignore that previous part. So yeah, so instead of doing your basic like here's a story about these people fighting for Scots language, we've kind of it was a bit of a test of interactivity and what we could do with a theme of a story. And so we created this audio map. So unfortunately you won't be able to hear it with the sharing the screen. But basically how it works is there's different people speaking in different dialects. You've got somebody who's speaking Arcadian, you know, all the different dialects of Scotland, and they're talking about where their dialect came from, certain words that they might use that are kind of unique to that part of Scotland. And this has been gone crazy. I mean, it's got over 100,000 page views. It's been viewed by people across the world. I think it's like 5,000 towns and cities that have people have come on and viewed it. It's been absolutely crazy. It's been a big success, and it's just been so great to see people really interact with the content. And I was saying in the previous group that one of the reasons that it's kind of one of my favorites is because I think sometimes with journalism we kind of forget that it can be fun, and that obviously some stories, you know, with the tone and whatever it's about, you can't necessarily have that, but where you can, I think sometimes we forget to kind of to do that. So you know, the look of this, you know, the kind of the map itself is, it's got quite a fun appeal to it. It's allowing the reader to pick what they want to listen to. We're not telling them what they have to do with this piece. You know, you can listen to one, you can listen to all of them, listen to whatever order you want. You know, it's got a lot of you know, just gives a lot of control to the reader itself, themselves. And then it was part of a wider series, so we had a survey asking people how they felt about Scots language, and then we also had a quiz, which we've done them in the past and they've always been really popular, but this one just went absolutely crazy again. It's just that thing, I think, of people picking the right way to kind of sell the story. And you know, I know words that my granny used that, you know, I'll speak to my husband about and he's never heard of them, and it'll become this kind of conversation. I think that's kind of what this was, that people were testing how many of these words do I know. And then when we put it out on social media, you know, they were tagging their friends saying like, see how many, you know, if you can get 10 out of 10, or I can't remember how many questions there were. Or saying, and then within those posts, like in the comment section on Facebook, people were then just chatting, saying, oh, you know, clipe, that's a word that my granny used, or God, I've not said that word in ages, or that we wouldn't use that word in Glasgow, we would say this. And all the it was such a talker. And I think it was because it had that interactivity and fun in it that made it so successful. So so yeah, I just wanted to highlight those pieces, and I'll leave Lesley-Anne to speak about the last piece.
So this very important piece about beer, which again just demonstrating that journalism isn't always serious. We do fun stuff quite a lot. This is part of the department that Cheryl and I work in now, content development. This is one of the first pieces of major content, essentially, which is what we're calling it, which is when one of our mini publishing teams wants to do something a bit bigger than their usual story. They want to do a series. And this was a collaboration between us, Live News, and our food and drink team, where they came to us and said, beer gardens are reopening. We want to do more than your normal story on that. And it's probably what we did last year when beer gardens reopened. Was we did a story before beer gardens reopened to say beer gardens are reopening. And then we did one after saying beer gardens are reopened. Here's some pictures of people in beer gardens. That was probably the kind of content that you would have got beforehand. But now what we did was our food and drink team went and sourced all of the information for both of our patches. So it was in Press and Journal, Evening Express, Courier, and Evening Telegraph. And they got all the information for all of the beer gardens that were reopening. And they got lots of information. You can see there's all sorts of categories here. So when you click on the pop-ups, it shows you what each pub is best at. So this one is dog friendly, child. This one does everything. It's dog friendly, child friendly. It serves food, it has craft beer, and it serves cocktails. So this was just to help people plan their first trip to the beer gardens, and people can zoom in and out and see where their local beer garden is, etc. So yeah, it's just, and it's trying to help get the industry back on its feet, essentially, encourage people to get out and support their local beer garden. Part of it being a bigger series was we also did, there was a pub quiz that was involved in it, and that was there was actually several pub quizzes. There were local ones for each area, and they were pub quizzes about pubs. So it was pub quizzes about how well do you know your local. It was kind of trivia about pubs, things that had happened in them, funny stories, names of pubs that are funny, stuff like that. There was also, we got local chefs, bartenders to give us recipes for food that you might want to make when you're on your way home from the pub and you've got the munchies, because not everywhere that you would normally go to for a kebab was necessarily open. We also got a local DJ to put together a Spotify playlist, and the idea was that you might want to put that on when you're getting ready to go to the beer garden. So yeah, it's a nice example of something fun that we've done. Then it was just, as I said, a much wider multimedia piece of content than it would have been under a traditional model. So I think that's all of our examples.
Yeah, that's us all done. If you have any questions.
Come off mute or pop any questions into the chat box if you have any.
So you've been going on about all these